Welcome back to Coaching from My Wheelchair Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jay, and today we're tackling a topic that hits close to home for many of us: how to be honest with yourself. We'll also tackle something we all do, the lies we tell ourselves, and how those little deceptions keep us from living the life we want. Have you ever told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," or "It's not that bad"? These are the kinds of lies we tell ourselves to avoid discomfort. And while they might make things feel easier in the moment, over time, they keep us stuck. The path to getting real and growing starts when we learn to face these truths with compassion and courage. In today's episode, I'll share practical tips, real-life coaching stories, and 5 key takeaways to help you practice self-honesty. We'll also explore strategies for breaking free from avoidance patterns and dive into a few frequently asked questions on how to stay consistent without falling into self-criticism. Whether you're working through a tough decision, searching for clarity, or ready to make meaningful changes, this episode is packed with insights to help you embrace the truth and unlock real growth. So, if you're ready to stop the lies, face the truth, and grow into your best self, let's dive in. Before we dive into the how of getting real, let's take a moment to identify some of the common lies we tell ourselves. These are the excuses, justifications, and half-truths we cling to because they make life easier, at least in the short term. Ever told yourself any of these? "I'm too busy to focus on my goals right now. Things will get better on their own. I just need to wait it out. I'm fine. I don't need help. It's too late for me to change careers or start over. This is just who I am. There's no point in trying to change." Sound familiar? I know I've told myself some of these lies before, especially the "I'll do it later" lie. These lies feel comforting because they let us avoid discomfort. But here's the truth: those comforting lies keep us stuck. They prevent us from addressing what really needs our attention, whether it's a relationship, career, or personal habit that isn't working. Growth starts the moment we stop lying to ourselves and get real about what's going on. I had a client who convinced herself she just needed a little more motivation at work. In reality, she had outgrown her job, but was scared to admit it. Once she got real with herself, she was able to make the changes she needed, and that's when things started to shift for her. Okay, now let's talk about why we lied to ourselves in the first place. If self-honesty is so important, why do we avoid it? Let's break down 5 common reasons. Let's start with the fear of change. Change is uncomfortable, and admitting the truth often means you'll need to change something. It's easier to say, "I'm fine where I am," even when you know you're not. Next, fear of failure. We tell ourselves we're not ready or that we'll do it later because we're afraid of failing. But here's the thing: avoiding the truth doesn't protect you from failure. It just delays your progress. Next, wanting to avoid pain. Sometimes the truth hurts. Maybe it's admitting a relationship is no longer working, or recognizing that you've let yourself down. Instead of facing that discomfort, we tell ourselves everything is okay. But avoiding pain only creates more pain in the long run. Oh, this is a good one: fear of disappointing others. Many of us make decisions based on what we think will make other people happy. We stay in jobs, relationships, or lifestyles that don't align with who we are because we don't want to disappoint others. Lastly, habitual patterns of avoidance. Lying to ourselves becomes a habit. We get used to making excuses or putting things off, and before we know it, avoidance becomes second nature. But the good news is, you can break that habit. Let's take a few minutes to go over some of the frequently asked questions I often hear about self-honesty. These might give you some additional clarity as you begin practicing honesty with yourself. How do I recognize when I'm lying to myself? Start by paying attention to your thoughts and actions. If you find yourself making excuses or feeling a lot of resistance towards something, that's a clue. For example, are you saying, "I'll start tomorrow," but tomorrow never comes? Or are you avoiding certain conversations or decisions? The things you avoid are often where the truth is hiding. What if being honest with myself feels overwhelming? That's a valid concern. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It just means you're facing something important. Remember, you don't have to confront everything at once. Start with small truths. Pick one area of your life and reflect on what's really going on there. Taking small steps will build your confidence over time. How do I balance being honest with myself without becoming too self-critical? Great question. Self-honesty isn't about beating yourself up, it's about building awareness. Use a compassionate voice with yourself. For example, instead of saying, "I failed again," say, "Okay, that didn't work. What can I learn from this?" The goal is to learn and grow, not to shame yourself. What if my truth means disappointing someone I care about? This is one of the toughest parts of being honest with yourself. Living authentically may not always align with other people's expectations. But remember, you're responsible for living your truth, not someone else's dream. The people who truly care about you will respect your honesty, even if it's difficult at first. How do I maintain self-honesty in the long run? Self-honesty is a practice, not a one-time event. It's something you build over time. Journaling, reflecting on your thoughts, and asking yourself honest questions regularly can help. And don't be afraid to check in with a coach or mentor along the way. They can help you stay accountable. Let's take a quick look back at 5 key takeaways from today's episode. 1. Growth begins with truth. You can't grow if you don't acknowledge where you are. Honesty with yourself is the first step toward meaningful change. 2. Compassion over criticism. Self-honesty is about being kind and curious, not harsh. Treat yourself with compassion as you face uncomfortable truths. 3. The truth will set you free. Yes, it might be uncomfortable at first, but honesty brings clarity and clarity brings freedom. 4. You're not alone. It's okay to ask for help. Being honest with yourself doesn't mean you have to go through it alone. Asking for help when you need it is a sign of strength. 5. Take small, honest steps. You don't have to change everything at once. Start with small truths and take one step at a time toward the life you want. Let me finish with some practical steps you can take to stop the lies and start making real progress. 1. Keep a truth journal. At the end of each day, write down one thing you were honest about, no matter how small. This practice will build your self-awareness over time. 2. Ask yourself honest questions. When you feel resistance, pause and ask, what am I pretending not to know? This will help you uncover the truth beneath the surface. 3. Recognize avoidance patterns. Notice how you distract yourself, whether it's through social media, procrastination, or overcommitting to other tasks. These patterns can reveal what you're avoiding. 4. Practice self-compassion. Remember, you're not aiming for perfection. Be kind to yourself as you work through uncomfortable truths. 5. Take one small, honest action. Once you identify a truth, take one small step toward addressing it. Whether it's scheduling a conversation, setting a boundary, or making a plan, small steps build momentum. And that's a wrap. Here are my final thoughts. Lies keep us stuck, but truth sets us free. The lies we tell ourselves might feel comforting in the short term, but they keep us stuck. Growth happens when we get real, when we face the truth and take small steps toward change. Yes, self-honesty can be uncomfortable at times, but it's also freeing. Every time you stop running from the truth, you gain power. And that power allows you to build the life you truly want. One that aligns with your values, your passions, and your purpose. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Coaching from My Wheelchair podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, share it with someone who needs it. And if you have more questions about self-honesty or want to dive deeper, visit my website at therightcoachingservices.com.
You can also buy a copy of Coach Jay's book, Coaching from My Wheelchair: Tips, Tidbits, Tools, and Strategies for Improving Your Personal and Professional Self-Development, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also connect with him on social media, on Instagram at TWCCSLLC, and you can also find him on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and through his website at therightcoachingservices.com/podcasts.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember to stay educated, stay informed, and learn something new. Until next time, this is Coach Jay.